Praise. Just for a quick moment. I'm talking about Jesus this morning. I'm talking about the Lord who has opened up doors and made ways out of no way. God is wonderful. He's mighty. He's excellent. He is worthy of praise and glory and honor. And we are excited. Now keep the praise going. I'm talking about Jesus. I'm talking about who died for me. The one who shed his blood on Calvary. Who thought about me when he was hanging up there. Oh God, we praise you. We love you, God. We worship you. We praise you. Because there is nobody like you, Jesus. There is nobody like Jesus in all the earth. In all the earth. You may take your seat. You may take your seat. I just came to give a little word this morning. I didn't come to stay long. Don't look for no hour-long message. I know the how they teach you to preach in 10 minutes. So by 1:15, we might be walking out the door. But I give honor to God. I thank God for allowing me to be here to Pastor Brian and his lovely wife. Thank you for the invitation. That's my mother's co-worker, and my mom sent her a video of me doing one of the 7 last words a couple weeks ago for Easter. And they sent an invitation for me, so I'm so grateful and I'm ecstatic, and I thank you all for inviting me to be here for Mother's Day brunch. And I also want to give honor to my pastor, Bishop Brooks. I thank him for allowing me to come out. You got to get the approval from your leader and be thought enough for me to be able to go out and speak, and so I give honor to him. And I also give honor to my wonderful parents, Deacon Herbert Contee. Yes, my father's a deacon. I thank God for him, and my wonderful mother, who I celebrate, my queen. You can rest assured that I am a true mama's boy. If you mess with my mother, I might well go on to jail. But I give honor to the both of them. They are a godly example of what parents should be. I thank God for them. They recently celebrated 26 years of marriage on Brunch. So that lets me know marriage still works. And it takes a whole lot of prayer. But I give honor to them, and I give honor to my sister and my aunts, and my cousin who's here. I definitely give honor to my aunts. 2 of the most powerful women I know. One will pray you through heaven, one will cast every demon out. So I thank you all for coming in to Snow, and thank you for coming. I'm not going to be before you all long. If you have your Bibles, your iPads, your phone. I would like us to go to the book of Exodus, chapter number 2. And meanwhile, while we're searching, I definitely want to, like I said, this event is reflecting on mothers, and I definitely thank God for my mother, who is a wonderful woman of God, who has sacrificed for me and my sister, and who's made so many ways and opportunities for us, who really inspires and who encourages me daily, and who definitely prays for me. I think I have the best mother in the world. Amen. I greatly appreciate her for all the things that she's done. She knows that I will go beyond the world for her to make sure that I repay her for the things that she's done for me. My mother knows I love her. When I come in the house, I'm hugging and kissing on her, and she says, "Get off me, boy, you're too old for this." But I thank you for it, and I thank you for the sacrifices that you have made for me. My mother allowed me to get the privilege to go overseas. She paid for me to go for 2 weeks over in Israel and Egypt, and I thank you for that. I just really appreciate her. A lot of people don't have their mothers. A lot of people take advantage of their mothers. But God knew what to give me. And my mother knows if I ever get any money, I'm going to repay her for everything that she did. I know I have a father and I celebrate him, but this event is about mothers. And Mom, you know how much I love you and I appreciate you. So, you know I love you. So if we look at the text, we're going to look at Exodus chapter number 2. And I want to read verses 1 through 10, but the focus verses will be verses number 2 through 3. And it says, "And there went a man of the house of Levi, and took a wife, a daughter of Levi. And the woman conceived and bare a son, and when she saw him, that he was a goodly child, she hid him for 3 months. And when she could no longer hide him, she took for him an ark of bulrushes, and daubed it with slime and with pitch, and put the child therein, and she laid it in the flags by the river's brink. And his sister stood afar off to wit what would be done to him. And the daughter of Pharaoh came down to wash herself at the river, and her maidens walked along by the riverside. And when she saw the ark among the flags, she sent her maid to fetch it. And when she had opened it, she saw the child, and behold, the baby wept. And she had compassion on him, and said, "This is one of the Hebrews' children." Then said his sister to Pharaoh's daughter, "Shall I go and call to thee a nurse of the Hebrew women, that she may nurse the child for thee?" And Pharaoh's daughter said to her, "Go." And the maid went and called the child's mother. And Pharaoh's daughter said unto her, "Take this child away, and nurse it for me, and I will give thee thy wages." And the woman took the child and nursed it. And the child grew, and she brought him unto Pharaoh's daughter, and he became her son. And she called his name Moses. And she said, "Because I drew him out of the water." Father, in the name of Jesus, we thank you, God, for this great coming together, this celebration of mothers. God, I ask at this moment, God, that your word will go forth, that people will hear you and not me, see you and not see me. God, I pray that you will open the hearts and the minds of the people. I pray that the word will inspire, uplift, and encourage, God. And most of all, God, I pray that whatever is said today, God, that someone's life will be touched and someone will be saved. God, we thank you. We praise you and we give you glory. In Jesus' mighty name. Verse number 2. And the woman conceived and bare a son, and when she saw him, that he was a goodly child, she hid him for 3 months. And when she could no longer hide him, she took him an ark of bulrushes, and daubed it with slime and with pitch, and put the child therein, and she laid it in the flags by the river's brink. The thought for this morning, if I were to leave a thought with you, or a subject, would be a mother has to do what a mother has to do. A mother has to do what a mother has to do. This morning we have set aside today as a day to honor our mothers, our grandmothers, our aunts, our godmothers, our church mothers, or any mother-like figure that has played a significant role in our life. As we honor and pay homage to them this morning, I cannot help but to reflect on the recent incidences that have taken this place in the week in the city of Baltimore. Watching CNN all week has not only bothered me, but it has troubled my spirit. I have often asked myself, as an African-American young man, how does my life matter in America? Does my life have any worth or value here? See, we live in a system that does not value the lives of African-American brothers or sisters. Now, personally, as the pastor has already read my credentials, I have a bachelor's of political science, and I'm receiving my master's in divinity at Howard University. Now, that sounds so great. That sounds so profound. But when it comes to me obtaining a job, does my skin color play a factor in determining whether I'm qualified for the position or not? In 2015, we are still living in a system of oppression. Now, granted, I'm not just talking about a system of racial oppression, but there is economic oppression, religious oppression, classism, and sexism, and other things. There is a systematic problem where there seems to be no money to fund for education, but there is money to build stadiums and casinos. There's a systematic problem when there are more African-American males that are incarcerated than receiving college degrees. There is a systematic problem when the broken glass of a police vehicle or the burning down of a CVS is more valuable than the life of an African-American child. There is a systematic problem. And it's a problem where we're still quoting Black Lives Matter in 2015. But as I watched the news this week and I saw what was going on in Baltimore, my mother and I, my sister and I was in the kitchen. There was a woman by the name of Toya Graham who saw her 16-year-old son partaking in the riot out in Baltimore. Now let you know right now, that would have been my mother. You will not make a fool out of her. She would have snatched me up and rolled me up and down that street. But anyway, and she grabbed him and she beat him in the street, not realizing that the cameras were recording her. In an interview a couple days later with CBS, Toya Graham said, "That's my son at the end of the day, and I don't want him to be another Freddie Gray. Is he the perfect boy? No, he's not, but he's mine." Toya Graham did what she had to do to save her son's life. For her son was not going to be another statistic. For Graham, she believed that despite of the systematic oppression that is plaguing her Baltimore community, she still believed that her son had purpose. So before we get into Exodus chapter 2, I want to revert back to Exodus chapter 1. So if you have your Bible, can you just scroll right back to a couple pages? If you got your iPad, just scroll to Exodus chapter 1. I want to look at verses number 8 through 14 just to give us some context, give us some background information of what's going on in the text. So Exodus chapter 1, verses 8 through 14 says, "Now there arose up a new king over Egypt, which knew not Joseph. And he said unto his people, Behold, the people of the children of Israel are more mightier than we. Come on, let us deal wisely with them, lest they multiply. And it come to pass that when there falleth out any war, they join also unto our enemies and fight against us. And so get them up out of the land. Therefore did they set over them taskmasters to afflict them with their burdens. And they built for Pharaoh treasure cities, Pithom and Ramesses. But the more they afflicted them, the more they multiplied and grew. And they were grieved because the children of Israel. And the Egyptians made the children of Israel to serve with rigor. And they made their lives bitter with hard bondage, in mortar and in brick, and in all manner of service in the field. All of the service wherein they made them serve was with rigor." So let's give a little context information what's going on. What's going on is in chapter number 1 in Exodus, there is a new king that has arose over Egypt who does not know who Joseph is. Now you probably wonder what's the significance of Joseph. Joseph was significant at this time because back in Genesis chapter 41, Joseph was in prison. He was sold into slavery by his brothers. And during that time, the Pharaoh at that time was having dreams. And Joseph was the one who was able to interpret Pharaoh's dreams about the 7 years of plenty and the 7 years of famine. After Joseph interpreted Pharaoh's dream, Joseph was elevated to vizier, which means he was basically second in command to Pharaoh. But what happened was after Joseph was elevated, his father Jacob brought his household and his son's household from Canaan to Egypt due to the famine in Canaan. And what happened was during this time, they came from Canaan to Egypt because of the famine, and there were favorable circumstances for Jacob and his family because of Joseph's position. So anytime after the Jacob's family, they were able to live comfortably in Egypt, and even after Joseph had died, the pharaohs after them, they still were able to live comfortable because they still honored who Joseph was. But this new pharaoh that was in place lacked knowledge of Joseph and the Israelites. Past pharaohs knew that Joseph was discerning and he was wise and he was filled with the Spirit of God. The new pharaoh's lack of knowledge set the stage for the Israelites' oppression. The new pharaoh's attempts to limit the birth rate of Israelites by forcing them into slavery. The children of Israel who were settled in Egypt during this time were multiplying by the numbers, which increased the amount of Israelites that were living in Egypt. Now, however, this does not sit well with Pharaoh because Pharaoh believed that because the Israelites were increasing in numbers, they were more powerful. He thought that they would join Egypt's enemies, and in an event of war, they would fight against Egypt and escape the land. So Pharaoh thought that the Israelites were a threat. Now, let me pose a quick thought right here. When people see you as a threat and recognize that you have purpose, that is when they would try to put you in an oppressive state of pain. But you got to understand that God will give you increase in the midst of oppression. Oppression cannot cancel your purpose in God. So we go down, if we look at Exodus chapter number 1, and let's scroll down to verses number 15 through 21, we see where Pharaoh tells the midwives that if a Hebrew boy is born, you have to kill him, put him in the Nile River. Pharaoh believes that killing the lifeline, the seed, the lineage, the next generation of the Hebrew boys, he believed that he could decrease the number of Israelites that were multiplying. He thinks that killing the Hebrew boys at birth will kill the potential and the purpose and the expansion of Israel. But the midwives in the text do not adhere to his instructions. Instead, they allow the Hebrew boys to live because they fear God. This lets me know they knew who God was. Another key point right here. When you know God for yourself, you can't go along with everything that leaders and politicians and public figures say or do. But when you know that God is the source of your strength, when you know that God is the strength of your life, when you know that God is your healer, your waymaker, your provider, your deliverer, He's your burden bearer, He's your peace in the midst of the storm, He's a shelter in the time of storm, you cannot go along with everything that political leaders or public figures say or do. So therefore, because the midwives went against what Pharaoh had instructed them to do, Israel continued to multiply and they became stronger. But because the midwives feared God gave them families. They were obedient to God. And how many know when you're obedient to God, God will bless you? It may be hard to be obedient, but when you are obedient, God will bless you. Three key things about obedience. Obedience to God is better than pleasing man. Obedience to God will cause God to bless you with the desires of your heart. Obedience to God will cause God to bless you beyond what people can give you. See, understand that in the text, the midwives didn't have families, but they may have had a desire to have one. But when they knew God and they feared God and they did not destroy the Hebrew boys, God was able to bless them for their obedience. So look at your neighbor and say, we must be obedient to God. Be obedient to God. Therefore, because the midwives did not adhere to Pharaoh's instructions, the Israelites continued to increase in population. And so at this time, Pharaoh makes a declaration that every Hebrew boy was to be killed and thrown in the Nile River. So let's switch into Exodus chapter 2, and the atmosphere of this text has finally changed. Here we have a Levite man and a Levite woman who ends up getting married, and the Levite woman conceives a male child. Now, this is a difficult time to bear a child because you did not know what you were having. You did not know whether you were having a boy. You did not know you were having a girl. And here you have Pharaoh who has made a declaration across the land that if you are a Hebrew boy, you should be thrown in the Nile River. Now, the text does not give the name of Moses' mother, but through research, I found out that her name was Jochebed, and she is from the priestly tribe of Levi. So we look at verse number 2. It says, and the woman conceived and bare a son, and when she saw him, that he was a goodly child, she hid him for 3 months. So what does this mean? This means that when Jochebed bore Moses, she didn't just see him as a nice-looking baby, a handsome young baby, but there was something angelic about his features. There was one scholar that said that Jochebed was a woman of vision because she saw something in Moses when he was first born. So I want to give you all 3 key points this evening for the mothers. First key point is mothers. You have to see purpose in your own children. Mothers, you have to see purpose in your own children. In a systematic society that has already predetermined and predestined the future for baby Moses, Jochebed knew she saw purpose in Moses when he was first born. She knew that Egypt had already predetermined and predestined his destiny because he was supposed to be thrown in the Nile River and eaten by the crocodiles. Mothers, let me make a key point here to you. Never let society speak their destiny over your children. You must be able to see purpose in them. No matter how bad they are, whether they're firstborn or whether they're in their 20s or the 30s, You must be able to see purpose in them. And not only see purpose in them, you got to speak life in them. You have to let them know you are fearfully and wonderfully made. You are more than a conqueror through Jesus Christ. You will be the first and not the last. You will be a lender. You will not be a borrower. You will be the head and not the tail. You can do all things through Christ which strengthens you. Mothers, you have to see purpose in your own children, just like Jochebed did. Not only did she see something in Moses, but she hid him for 3 months. And when she realized she couldn't hide him for 3 months or any longer, she made a papyrus basket. Papyrus was used to make blankets. It was used to make boats. It was used to make shoes. The pitch that was used was the best waterproofing substance that was known during that time. The pitch was used with tar to cover Moses' papyrus basket and to waterproof Noah's ark. So the thing was, the papyrus basket was in resemblance to Noah's ark, and the same materials were used during that time. Mothers, point number 2. You must be able to use your best resources, your best materials, and best substances for your children. Jochebed was in desperation during this time to save the life of her son, and she used what she knew to help save her son's life. Mothers, you have to use what you know. Use the best that you have for your children. Use what you have to equip your children for the world that they will face. Sometimes a mother will go without. I know there's some mothers that have gone without so that your children can have what they need. A mother will go without so that her children can have what they need, but understand that it will all pay off in the future. Moses' mother puts him into the basket and into the Nile River. Now that's an oxymoron right there. She puts him in a basket and puts him in the same place where he was destined to die. Just let that marinate for a minute. She put him in a basket, put him in the Nile River where the crocodiles were, where he was already destined to die. Understand, it is not only hard for her, but it was probably nerve-wracking for her to put him in that basket and put him in the Nile River. But understand that the papyrus basket represents safety. It represents a covering. It represents a protection. Point number 3. Mothers, it may be hard to see your children grow up. It may be hard to see them grow up, and it's hard to let them go. But be confident in the protection and the covering that you place your child in. Place your children in a covering of prayer. Place your children in the covering of the blood of Jesus. Don't ever leave your house without covering your children. My mother, every morning before we went to school, she would get up at 5 o'clock, and by 6 o'clock she walking out the door. But before she walked out that house, there was a little finger that was covering right on my forehead. And I would hear her pray, and she said, cover them in the name of Jesus. Place your children in the hands of the Lord. Place your children under the blood, because the blood covers. It still covers. So even when they leave to go into the world to fulfill their hopes, when they leave to go into the world to fulfill their dreams, remember be confident in the covering that you placed him in. Jochebed placed Moses in the Nile River knowing there was danger. But as he floated down the river, she understood and she knew that he would pass some crocodiles and he would encounter some waves. But she knew that her baby was covered. Your children need to be covered. Cover your children. Mother, sometimes we don't understand. We don't see the sacrifices that you made. We don't see the hidden tears that you cry. We don't see the quiet prayers that you prayed. But know that your labor is not in vain. Amen. Just know that everything that you do in the act of desperation to save your children, every act of desperation that you are doing is setting your children up to fulfill the purpose that they must complete. In a society that does not value your children, continue to see value in them. Continue to see purpose in your own children. Continue to speak life into your children. Remember that your words have power. Your words got power. Life and death are in the power of the tongue. Speak life into your children. Decree and declare things in the natural. Decree and declare things in the spiritual realm. But speak over your children with authority. Sometimes you have to use the authority that God has given you and speak to them and let them know that no demon, no devil in hell shall have my children. But you are covered under the blood of Jesus. That everywhere that you go, you are covered, and angels guard them. Understand that they might not understand or appreciate everything you do. Understand they might not appreciate the resources and the equipment and the sources that you give us. But understand that what you are using is going to help save their life. Don't stop covering your children in prayer. Don't stop covering them in the blood of Jesus. The covering that you have placed under them is protecting and keeping them. So we scroll down. I'm closing. As we scroll down to where we see Pharaoh's daughter in bathing in the river, and she sees her children. She sees Moses, and his sister Miriam comes out of the brushes, and she says to Miriam said, "Well, do you need a Hebrew woman to help nurse?" And so and Pharaoh's daughter said, "Yes, go bring me a woman." Well, the woman that she brought was Moses' mother. The woman that she brought was Moses' mother. Not only did she tell Pharaoh's daughter, tell his mother, go ahead and nurse him, but I'm going to pay you wages to do it. Understand that the places that you may not be able to go, your children will be able to go. Understand that how can I put this? It baffled me when I read this. I said, she went to the place where Pharaoh has decreed these things, but yet her son is in the palace where Pharaoh is at, and he didn't even know he was a Hebrew child. When sometimes your children will go places that you won't go, but understand that you will receive the credit. You will receive the reward. Places that your children are going, you may not have been able to go, but they will be able to reach places and see people and do things that you wouldn't be able to do. But you, mothers, shall receive credit. You shall receive the reward. So understand, mothers, you have to do what you have to do, but understand that in a systematic society that we live in, keep doing what you're doing. Keep doing what you're doing for your children. Your children will honor you. They will appreciate you later on. They may not see it at the moment. I didn't see it at the moment, but when I got out of college and the bills start coming, and I'm taking out loans myself, I had a deeper appreciation and value for my mother. I had a deeper appreciation for the prayers that she prayed, because if it had not been for her prayers, her son would have been gone a long time ago. But understand that we must be able to continue to cover and keep your children. Keep them under the blood. Use your best resources and see purpose in them. They are the next generation, because in the text you later on see that Moses becomes a great leader, and he leads the children of Israel to the promised land. He leads them to the promised land. So don't give up on your children. They may be out in the world doing what they're doing, but keep praying, keep fasting, keep seeking God. God will cover them. Keep them under the blood, because one day they're going to lead somebody. They're going to go places that you never thought they would go, and they will do things that you never thought that they would do. So mothers, keep doing what you're doing. A mother has to do what a mother has to do.